In the late 16th century, as the age of exploration swept across the world, the promise of the New World burned brightly in the hearts of European powers. Among them, England, under Queen Elizabeth I, was determined to plant its flag in the uncharted territories across the Atlantic. It was a time of discovery, adventure, and ambition, but also of mystery, loss, and strange disappearances. And none would become as haunting as the story of Roanoke, a colony that vanished without a trace. Our story begins in 1584, when Sir Walter Raleigh, an English nobleman and explorer, was granted permission by the Queen to establish a colony in the Americas. The dream was simple: build England's first permanent settlement in the New World and open the door for future expansion. But dreams, as history has shown, can turn into nightmares. Raleigh's first expedition discovered an island off the coast of present-day North Carolina, known as Roanoke Island. The land was lush, filled with wildlife and bordered by thick forests. It seemed like the perfect place for England's first colony. 2 years later, in 1585, the first group of settlers, around 100 men, landed on Roanoke Island. They came with hopes, supplies, and a mission to establish a foothold for England. But the challenges were immediate. Relations with local Native American tribes became strained. Supplies dwindled. Harsh weather and lack of experience made survival difficult. Eventually, the settlers abandoned the colony and returned to England. But Raleigh refused to give up. In 1587, he sent another expedition, at this time with 117 men, women, and children. This was not a military outpost, but a real community. Among them was John White, an artist and mapmaker, who was appointed governor of the new colony. His daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband were also among the settlers, and during their stay, Eleanor gave birth to the first English child born in the New World, a girl named Virginia Dare. For a moment, hope shone brightly on Roanoke, but fate had other plans. Shortly after they arrived, it became clear that the colony's survival was again at risk. Supplies were low, and the settlers begged John White to return to England to bring back help. Reluctantly, he agreed, leaving behind his daughter, granddaughter, and over 100 colonists, promising to return soon. But soon turned into years. When White reached England, he found his country at war with Spain. The Spanish Armada threatened England's very existence, and all ships were ordered to defend the homeland. John White's repeated attempts to return to Roanoke were delayed again and again. Finally, in 1598, 3 long years after he left, he managed to make his way back across the Atlantic. He must have imagined the joy of reuniting with his family, of seeing his granddaughter, now 3 years old, running along the shore. But what he found instead would become one of the greatest mysteries in American history. When White's ship approached Roanoke Island, there was no smoke, no sound, no movement. The settlement was deserted. The wooden houses had been dismantled. Belongings were gone. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just emptiness. The only clue left behind was a single word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. And nearby, the letters CRO etched into a tree. John White had given specific instructions before leaving. If the settlers had to move, they should carve the name of their destination, and if they were in danger, they should add a cross. There was no cross. So, was Croatoan their new home? Croatoan was the name of a nearby island today known as Hatteras Island, and also the name of a friendly native tribe that had previously helped the English. White was hopeful. Perhaps they had moved there for safety, but a powerful storm was approaching, and his men refused to go any further. Forced to turn back, White never found out what happened to his family or the settlers. He returned to England heartbroken, and the mystery of Roanoke began its centuries-long shadow. Over the years, countless theories have tried to explain what happened to the lost colony. Some say the settlers were attacked and wiped out by hostile tribes. Others believe they attempted to sail back to England on their own and perished at sea. Some historians think they may have integrated with local Native American tribes, marrying, living, and blending into their communities. In fact, early European explorers and settlers in later centuries reported seeing tribes with gray eyes and lighter skin, speaking fragments of English words. Could these have been descendants of the Roanoke colonists? There's also the theory of starvation and disease. The region was hit by drought around that time, According to tree ring data analyzed centuries later, without food or supplies, perhaps the settlers succumbed to hunger, leaving behind no trace but that single word carved in wood. And then there are the more mysterious explanations, ones that fuel imagination even today. Some claim that supernatural forces were involved, curses, hauntings, or even alien abduction theories. These might sound wild, but in the absence of proof, the human mind searches for answers in the unknown. Archaeologists and historians have never stopped looking for the truth. In recent years, excavations on Hatteras Island at the old Croatoan have uncovered European artifacts dating back to the late 1500s, bits of pottery, tools, and weapons. But the evidence is scattered and inconclusive. It tells us that some English people may have lived among the Croatoan tribe, but was it the entire colony, or just a few survivors? Another discovery came from a strange clue hidden in an old map drawn by John White himself. In 2012, researchers at the British Museum noticed that a section of the map had a patch covering something underneath. When they examined it with modern imaging technology, they found a small symbol, possibly marking a fort about 50 miles inland from Roanoke. Could this have been a secret relocation site? Archaeological digs in that area, known as Site X, have unearthed artifacts that may have belonged to English settlers, including fragments of ceramics identical to those found at Roanoke. But even these finds raise more questions than answers. If the colonists did move inland, why did they vanish completely afterward? Why was there no written record, no message beyond a single word carved into wood? Some modern historians suggest that the Roanoke settlers became victims of shifting alliances between native tribes and European powers. It was a time of tension, disease, and cultural clashes. The settlers may have been absorbed, enslaved, or killed, and their identities erased by history. Yet others argue that the true fate of the lost colony might forever remain hidden beneath the soil and forests of the Carolina coast. The story of Roanoke has become more than just a historical mystery, it's a haunting legend that captures the fragility of human ambition. Imagine those 117 men, women, and children setting out across an ocean into the unknown, leaving behind their homeland for a dream of a new life. And then, imagine the silence that followed, an entire community disappearing from the face of the earth, leaving behind only whispers of what once was. The word Croatoan itself has taken on an eerie life of its own. It has appeared mysteriously throughout history, carved, written, or spoken in strange places. During the 19th century, it was reportedly found scratched into the bedpost of the poet Edgar Allan Poe before his unexplained death. During a deadly hurricane in the 20th century, the word was found carved into a post near where a ship had vanished. Coincidence, or something more? The legend has inspired books, films, and TV shows, all trying to fill in the gaps left by time. Some tell stories of survival and assimilation, others imagine darker outcomes, a betrayal, conflict, or even supernatural disappearance. But what keeps this story alive isn't just the mystery of what happened, it's the feeling that something of that lost colony still lingers, hidden in the mists of history. When the waves crash against the outer banks of North Carolina, locals say you can still hear faint whispers in the wind, echoes of a lost world. Perhaps it's only imagination, or perhaps, somewhere out there, the spirits of the Roanoke settlers are still searching for their way home, their story waiting to be told.